So when we're looking at the average rate of change, we're comparing the output, so our function of x, where our function of x has an input of x, and what we're doing is finding the average rate of change. So we're looking at the change in our output compared to the change in our input. Change here is represented as our delta symbol, which you'll be finding in lots of other different equations. So first of all, let's look at an example. Looking at this, we've got a graph which has a straight line, and we need to pick 2 points on it. Let's just look at this point here and this point here. To find the average rate of change, we're looking at the change in its input values compared to the change in its output values. So for our first point, this point here, we can have a look at its input, which we draw down, and it has an input of 2. Now its output has a value of 2 as well. Our second point here, it has an input of 4, and it has an output of 3. Next, we need to look at how to solve our rate of change between these 2 points. Well, using the information that we have up here, we're looking at the change in our function, so our delta f of x is equal to our top point has a value of 3, and our lower point has a value of 2. So our change in our function is equal to 1. Now we have our change in our function, we just need to see what our change of our input was. So our delta x is going to be looking at our input. Our highest one is 4, and comparing it with the lowest one, which is an input of 2. So our change in our input is 2. That gives the average rate of change between these 2 points is equal to 1 over 2. And you can see this by our input, which has changed by 2, and our output has changed by 1. So that means that the rate of change between these 2 points is equal to a half.